I just sent you the invite. Try it again. Add. There we go. Hopefully we'll be good today on a connection.
Brett,
Connecting for.
you there?
Yes, sir.
What's up, brother?
What is up? How are you, man?
Living the dream.
Good. Let me turn on my
Got my
volume.
trusty earbud in.
That's the key right there. I had it flip-flop the last time. Hold on, let me get my volume up here. There we go.
Yeah, it has to be the guest. Doesn't matter what the host does. It's
And
so
that's what I
bizarre.
was doing. I was doing it as the host on our last one that I did with Celeste that one time, but it's all good. We worked it out.
Nice.
Well, I
Good to see
appreciate
you,
it.
man.
Yeah, good to see you too. It's been a little while. Glad to see
It
that
has been a hot minute.
Yeah. So this is our agents roundtable. This episode, what it does is it gets shared into our private group for our Freedom Financial Solutions team. It's not a public group. That's our private group. I know that you're in that group as well. And so what will happen is when we wrap up, I'll actually take the episode and then I'll share it in the group because we've got hundreds of people in there who may not know who you are, and I think that we're going to be able to give them some good tips and some good nuggets here.
Cool.
Before we get started, you and I, we operate in two different industries. I'm in more of the traditional side of financial services, and you work in the network marketing industry. And then I'm going to have you talk a little bit about your My Lifestyle Academy business, and so maybe you could just take a couple minutes before we get started and just let our audience know in the insurance world a little bit about you and your brand and what it is that you folks do.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. And, we've been in network marketing now for 17 years, been in sales and, entrepreneurship for 17 years. And it's kind of crazy because, over the last, I guess, 5, 6, 7 years, we've really taken social media, internet marketing strategies. We've taken those very seriously, and it's absolutely exploded our businesses. And, for us, I guess, in the early years, we wanted to have success and we were working really hard. But, the truth is back then we probably spent more money than we made, but it was a learning experience. We took a lot of that experience, ran it into, I did mortgages for about 4 years. Kind of got out of network marketing. Then I got back in kind of part-time. But eventually around 2012 or 13, I started to really pay attention to online marketing because I just wanted to create more freedom. I wanted to, put myself in a situation where I wasn't limited to my own geographic location. And it's been crazy, man. We've been full-time network marketers now for 11 years, built a multi-million-dollar business here over the last several years, mostly using social media. And, I just love being an entrepreneur. I love the freedom and flexibility of building online businesses and really helping people, just like the people watching right now, have more success in their business using more modern strategies. Because as we know, the old school way of doing things just doesn't work like it used to, man. It's just, going out there and grinding and hustling is important. But, there's so much abundance, so many people that are online that are looking for the products and services we offer as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're going to dive into here today is using the more modern ways of technology to market your business, to attract clients to you.
Yeah.
In our industry, for the way we do it, we have about 7 different ways that we teach our agents how to go out there and attract clients to them. And one of the ways that we probably don't stress enough is utilizing social media and utilizing different strategies. And again, something that we're going to dive deep into. And I know that you are familiar, obviously, with my background and what I've done, what I do in the insurance industry. I know
Yep.
that you're a client, you're a customer of the insurance products that we offer. You and your family believe in those products, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And so what would be, so just to kind of get right into it, if you were to give 3 bullet points on how to market our type of insurance business to our agents, how they could utilize social media, not to build a team necessarily, but to attract more clients to them, what would be 3 bullet points or 3 strategies that you would give the agents?
If they're trying to build more online?
If they're trying to build more online, if they want to market their insurance business without it being too spammy and without always
Yeah.
right, because I see it every day. I see people, their whole MO on social media is you're gonna die and you'd better get life insurance because you're gonna die. And it's like
Yeah. Like,
okay,
oh, sign me up.
yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, no, we get it. We're all right. Nobody's making it out alive. But instead
Yeah.
of throwing it in people's faces, what would be
Yeah.
three other, like, what would be strategies that you would recommend that people could use to kind of mix that in?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can definitely say this. I mean, it's amazing what you can do on social media if you get good at marketing and branding yourself and putting out content. Just like right now we're doing this video together, right? It's educating, inspiring, entertainment. You know, there's so many ways to build a personal brand. And just think about the people, for those of you watching right now, think about the people that you follow on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. You know, think about some of the videos that you watch on YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever. And you know, do you get value? Does it make you think, laugh? Does it inspire you? And if you're following different brands because of that, then you got to think, okay, well, how can I build a brand, something that I'm passionate about, something that I like to share with other people? And, you know, that's really how we started down this path, you know, around 2012 or 13. And obviously I met you, you know, years before that, Brett, but you know, you saw when we first started doing our videos, when we started building our brand and putting out content. And I'm curious, for those of you watching, how many of you do videos right now? How many of you are creating content? You're marketing yourself? Because really the whole point of marketing is so that you have prospects coming to you versus you having to go find the prospects, right? And there's nothing wrong with going out there and flexing that hustle muscle and networking and meeting people or you know, buying leads or running ads, spending money to get people to come to you. There's nothing wrong with that. But with our social media, right, we could go out there and start doing Instagram stories or Snapchat or Facebook stories, right? That's like a new feature these days that people are doing, where throughout your day, you're recording little videos, you're uploading pictures, whatever. All throughout your day, you can be creating pieces of content. So that's one strategy that's worked well for us just over the last, you know, 6 months, 12 months, whatever, where we've spent more time on Facebook and Instagram stories. I don't really use Snapchat, but some people obviously still do. Mostly younger people, it seems, still really use Snapchat. Like my son, he's 14. The 2 apps he uses the most are Instagram and Snapchat. But you think about it, he's 14. He's not even on Facebook, right? So as much as I love Facebook, it isn't as appealing to the younger demographic. So that's another thing. You need to know who's your target audience. Like, who's the person you're trying to attract? And if it's insurance clients, you know, let's be honest, it's probably not going to be as appealing to an 18-year-old as it would be to a 38-year-old, right? Someone like me. So you have to kind of know your target audience. And by the way, that doesn't mean if you're 18, you shouldn't get insurance. You actually should. It's best if you get it younger. But I just think younger people don't think about it as much as we do when we have kids, we have a family, right? So, you know, okay, my target audience, you know, they're typically dads, moms, they typically have children. You know, where are they? What are they interested in? How can I help them? How can I make an impact? How can I make a difference in their life? What can I share with them that could help them? And if you put out value, you show up consistently, you're doing videos, like a video just like this, you could interview experts, you could go out there and share tips and strategies, things to help them in their life. Maybe you're helping them with parenting advice. Maybe you're helping them with creating retirement income, right? Tax-free retirement income, right? You're finding ways to provide value, and in turn, people will share your videos. They'll spread the word. They'll say, man, you got to follow this person. You know, I learned this from them, or you got to watch this video. It was so inspirational. And it could be in any niche. It doesn't mean you just have to do it for your business per se. You could build a brand that has nothing to do with your business, believe it or not. Like, we had this lady, I love telling this story because I didn't know this was like a thing, but she was really into scrapbooking. So she joined a bunch of scrapbooking groups, which, by the way, this would be another strategy: join groups of like-minded people
on social media,
on Facebook,
media,
specifically Facebook. Yep. So she joined a bunch of scrapbooking groups. And she went in there, she started friending up people and not going in there selling or pitching her MLM stuff. She just went in there to make friends, provide value, answer questions, share ideas, scrapbooking ideas, whatever. And from that, she ended up, building up this whole new network of people. And then on her personal profile, she was creating curiosity about her weight loss product. She was talking about this incredible program she's on that's helping her lose weight and sharing her results and sharing her story. And by the way, she wasn't just promoting her products. She was also sharing things about her life. And, again, you want to blend in what people are most interested in on social media. Like most people go onto social media to catch up with their friends and see what everybody's up to and, that sort of thing. So you want to have kind of that 80-20 rule in place where 80% of the time you're not promoting your product, service, your opportunity, whatever. But when you do, you kind of blend it in, right? You weave it into your videos, you weave it into your conversations, because then, people are seeing you as a human first and a marketer second. Right? If they like you, they trust you, you make them laugh, think, you inspire them, they're gonna have more faith in you and your product that you're offering because they're like, man, I really like Brett. I like what he's all about. Let me reach out to him and let him know how much I appreciate him. And I'm also curious what he does. How does he make money? What's this product? What's this service that he offers? Maybe it can help me. Because when people start to look at you as an authority, as an expert, as someone that makes them feel better, makes them feel a certain kind of way, like they're going to start to have more trust. And if you're doing it consistently over a sustained period of time, you'll really start to build a huge audience. I mean, we have tens of thousands of people that follow us on social media, that are on our email list. And that took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of dedication. It took years of us putting out content, but we know that like we have something that can help people. And by the way, sometimes we think, well, people already know this stuff. People already know this, like other people are already teaching this. Yeah, but just because Gary Vee is teaching what he's teaching or Brendan Bouchard's teaching what he's teaching, they don't know Brendan on a personal level, or they can't get to, I can't just reach out to Gary Vee and hop on a call with him or go out to lunch with him. When you're building up your brand, building up your social equity, you have more time to get on the phone with someone or respond to messages on Messenger. Like I always tell people, marketing that you're doing on social media, like doing videos, putting out content like we're doing right now, it's awesome. But the money is made in Messenger. I know you know this, right? You and I always talk about like the money is made in Facebook Messenger, having those one-on-one conversations.
I literally spend 90% of my time in Messenger. People think, like some people think, people don't even know about the microphone. And I want to talk about that here in a second. But I want to go back. So one of the things you said was creating content. And I think a lot of times people don't create content because they feel like they don't know what to say, number one. And number two, they have a fear, what are people going to think about what I'm about to say or put out there? So then they don't put out a post because they have fear of what somebody might think about it in the interwebs. And so what would you say just about those two things? Number one, how quick is it to create content and just, get creative? And number two, how to overcome that mental block that prevents you from putting yourself out there?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, I heard Eric Worre say the other day, and I've heard him say it before, but I was just like, man, that's really good. I'm gonna use that. He said, we're in the fear management business. Right? Our whole goal is to help the people we're mentoring, right? Our business partners, people that, it could be clients, right? Same thing. Like they have a fear of, wasting money or wasting time or, like you said, putting out content and people making fun of me. You just can't care. I mean, it's easy for me to say this because I've been doing it 17 years, but I was in your shoes, right? I was brand new at one point, and it was hard when people that I respected or, friends of mine were making fun of me and they were busting my balls about stuff. And they're like, oh, you're in a pyramid scam. And I'm like, you're in a pyramid. You're just at the bottom. You just don't know it. Right. Like, and by the way, never get into arguments with your friends and family because you're never going to win the argument. Even if you are right, they're not going to agree with you, right? How many of us have friends and family, and right, smash the hard button if you have friends and family that just straight up, flat out, doesn't matter what you say, they're not going to agree with you. And you know what? It's not our job to convince people against their will, because they're just going to be of the same opinion still. So don't try to convince people. You're just looking for people that want to hear your message. You're looking for people that are wanting the inspiration, the motivation, the content that you're putting out there. And by the way, your content doesn't have to be inspirational. It doesn't have to be motivational. Whatever your brand is, it is. It's up to you. You're the one that figures that out, because you start doing videos and sharing things that you think would help someone else because it at one point helped you. Right? Could be your story, could be something you're learning. You know, I heard Ray Higdon say this years ago, and I've never forgot it. ILT, invest, learn, teach. So you invest in a course, you invest time in watching a video like this, right? So ILT, you invest your time, you learn, that's the L, you learn something, and then you go around and teach the things you're learning. And people will say, well, don't I have to implement it first? Well, it does help. It does help if you implement the things you're learning, but you don't necessarily have to. I'll give you an example. Nadia went to a conference this past weekend in California. She took a ton of notes. Throughout the weekend, she was sharing what it was she was learning, some of her biggest takeaways. Now, some of it she'll execute right away. Some of the things she might not necessarily implement right away, but it's still things that she could share with her audience and say, hey, I was at this convention. These are the things that I thought were really impactful, and I wanted to share them with you. Like, we overthink this too much, right? We overthink, like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to share? Just share anything that you think would help someone else. And people are like, well, how do I know it helped someone else? Did it help you? Right? You read a book. Did you get something out of that book? Something like, I like listening. Recently, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. So I'll listen to like Grant Cardone or Ed Milet. I don't know if you follow Ed Milet.
Yeah,
he's such a beast. And he interviews really great people. Chalene Johnson's amazing. You know, there's a lot of people out there already creating phenomenal content. Find someone, follow someone, plug into someone that you respect, someone that you really like. Drop into the comments and let us know some of your favorites, those of you watching. But, you know, Gary Vee is amazing. You never go wrong with Gary Vee, right? Tony Robbins, Oprah. I mean, whatever. Find someone that you're like, man, I love her stuff, or I love his stuff. Like, let me learn. Let me go out there and invest the time to learn it. And then I'm going to turn around and teach some of those things. And you know what? You put your own spin on it, right? You're like a DJ. Right? You're DJing out the content. You're putting your own twist on, your own perspective. Maybe you're incorporating your own personal experiences into that content. And I'm telling you, it's hard in the beginning, but eventually, like anything else, if you're disciplined in the beginning and you do the work, eventually it becomes a habit. Like at this point, I feel freaking weird if I don't do a video or a training or something to help my team, my network in some way, right? Whether it's me interviewing someone, me getting interviewed, right? Me, maybe, you know what, sometimes, Brett, it's not a video, it's a post, right? It's a post that I put out there. Just one solid piece of content every single day, and over time, you'll build up that network of people. And in the background, on the back end, like you said, 90% of the time, man, you're doing those one-on-one conversations.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is when a post goes out or a video goes out, the first thought that comes to, at least that comes to my mind before I put it out there, is it's not about me putting the post out or putting the video out or dropping the content. It's about, out of the thousands of people who are following me or who I'm friends with through social media, are they going to see this and it's going to make an impact? And even if it's just one person, one day a week, that's at least satisfying to know that I've at least been able to make a change or make an impact in some way. And I think that when you don't put the content out, when you don't put out the post or the video, you're actually robbing people of the information that you know. Yeah. And so I just think that a lot of times they get very caught up in, again, what people are thinking. And I think that this video, once it gets shared into the group and everybody gets the chance to see it again, people will rewatch the replay. They're going to say, you know what, these guys are right. These guys are right. Yeah. I just got to get out of my own way.
Well, and it just boils down to what's your goal? Like, I'm not on social media to just socialize. I'll be honest. I'm not a big small talker. Like the whole, like, oh, how's the weather? You know, how's the family? Blah, blah, blah. Like, and look, I like catching up once in a while, but I'm just so busy, and I'm just like, when I'm on social media, man, I'm in business mode most of the time, especially during the day. Like, I want to do money making activities. So my whole goal, yeah, Darren Hardy's another good one, Doug. That's a great recommendation. My whole goal is I want to find people that are looking for what I have to offer, right? Like, I'm looking for people that are looking. Yeah. Right. And there's no way to find those people if I don't throw the bait out there. Right. I'm a fisherman. Right. I'm putting the bait out there, and I'm just seeing who's looking, who wants my conversation, who wants the product or opportunity that I can share with them. And you know what? Sometimes the timing isn't right, but that's why you build a relationship. And some people are like, well, how do you build a relationship? There's two ways to build a relationship: personal time with that person. But the other way you build a relationship is them watching your content, right? Like, I have people that come up to me at conventions, or, there's different events we'll attend. We're going to a couple events, we have a couple speaking engagements in May, and there will be people that come up to us at those events, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I watch all your videos. Like, I feel like I know you. Now, how powerful is that? Yeah. I've never met them. I've never spoke to them, maybe on Messenger or something, but like, I don't really know them, right? I've never shook their hand. I never met the person, but they feel like they know me because they watch my videos. They follow my stuff, right? So it's so powerful to build a personal brand. And then, of course, the whole idea is to generate leads. Like, look, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm online to make money, right? That's what we've done to build a multi-million-dollar business, and that took hard freaking work. If anybody tells you there's an easier path or an easy way to make money, and I should say social media is easier, but it's still hard, right? Like, there's no one out there achieving massive results in anything, any business, any industry, nothing without sweat equity. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be awkward, right? My videos in the early days, they totally sucked. And I don't think my videos are perfect. I don't think today my videos are all that in a bag of chips. Like, I'm always looking to improve. I'm always looking to create better content and better value. And again, along the way, you're sharing your journey. You're talking about what you're up to, the things you're doing, and you're taking people with you. So you're an inspiration, not just through your content, but through the experiences and the journey you're having, and sharing that with your audience.
Yep. Did you say all that in a bag of chips?
Yeah. That's old school right there.
I don't think most people don't know. I've known you for a decade. I've known you like me and the wife, like, we've slept at the house, you know what I mean? Like, I know you, and that's just like, you're 38? No, you're not.
Oh, that's great.
All right, so we're in the business of investing in people, building teams, and pouring into people on a daily basis. That's our MO. That's what we do. Yeah. When someone comes on board in my world, in the insurance world, in the traditional world, they all of a sudden sometimes are exposed to this work from home lifestyle. I've never considered it work from home, because if I'm spending all of my time at home, personally, I'm doing it wrong. If I'm not out in a business meeting with an owner, if I'm not out if I'm not out there meeting with people outside of all the great things that we're talking about on social media, then I don't have a full-fledged business. I have it's almost like a hobby. What's your advice on how to balance this work from home lifestyle? Like, what would you tell people on how to kind of get your ass in gear and get going?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and I love that you brought that up, because the truth is, a lot of our success stemmed from those years and years and years of meetings, countless meetings, right? I met you at a meeting, right? Like, you need to get out there with the people. Like, the way we even operate today is we'll do special events, speaking engagements, and you can't like teach someone how to become a speaker. They have to go out there and just do the speaking one-on-one. That's how I became a speaker. That's how people are like, well, how are you getting these speaking engagements? And it's like, there's not like, oh, you just like do this. It's not like this one. It's just years of building up your credibility. It's years of working your face off and doing what most people honestly will never do. And then people will be like, oh, that's discouraging. I'm like, look, most people are never going to be millionaires. Most people are never going to make six figures, quite frankly. Like, most Americans do not make $100,000 a year or more. So with that being said, the fact that you could even be like, you're even in a vehicle that gives you that opportunity, be grateful for that. But just because you're in a vehicle, right? Insurance, real estate, MLM, just because you're in the vehicle doesn't mean you're going to be successful. In fact, still, most realtors don't make six figures. Most agents in insurance, they don't make six figures. Most network marketers don't make six figures. But the ones that do, baby, they hustle. Whether they're on the phone, whether they're doing the videos, they're in inboxes on Messenger, and they're out there meeting people, right? Especially, again, in the early years, you have to earn it, baby. You got to deserve success. And the only reason we've had all the success we've had, in my opinion, is because of the sacrifices we made, because of us getting very clear on the money-making activities and being non-negotiable with those focus points. Because when you get distracted, like I have kids, right? How many of us, drop into the comments if you have children, kids are amazing, but kids can be a distraction, right? Especially when they're younger and they want your attention all the time, or maybe they're not in school yet. But you have to have that focused time and this is part of the reason it's sometimes good just to get out of the house, right? With insurance, you have to get out of the house. You can't necessarily do everything from home. And when you're out of the house, I don't know, it's kind of like why I still have a gym membership, even though I could work out in my basement. I just need to get out of the house, right? I need to like go out there and get in my car and drive and just like, I got to do my thing. I go to the gym. You can bet your ass I'm gonna sweat. I'm gonna get a good workout. Where if I'm in my basement, I don't make me work as hard as I would when I'm at the actual gym. So with that being said, I think it's so important for people to do what they got to do to get face time, to get in front of people, especially if you're selling something that is higher ticket and it's a bigger decision, right? Like, you're not going to be able to just sit at home in your pajamas and sell $1 million home. You're not going to be able to sit in your pajamas all day and sell $1 million policy. It's just not going to happen. You have to go out there and meet people. But this is the beauty. You can use social media to connect with people and stay in touch with people. But when you get on that Zoom call with them and you get face to face, or you go out to lunch or breakfast or grab a cup of coffee or show up at their business, right? Like, you can build a deeper connection and maybe sell something that's going to be a solution for them. And sometimes people don't like sales, which is also a funny thing to me. Like, oh, I don't like selling. Like, really?
Some sort of sales.
Yeah, you're kind of selling me right now. Yeah, exactly. How'd you get that first date?
Sell
Yeah,
your wife
yeah.
on liking you.
Yeah. Like, you had to appear a certain kind of way. You had to talk a certain kind of way. Like, you had to put on a little bit of a show. You had to put on a front. You couldn't just be like, what's up, babe? Like, you want to go grab some Mickey D's? You got your credit card, right? Like, you're buying right now. That might happen down the road, deeper into the dating, right, process. But in the beginning, right, you gotta look your best, baby. So it's
going to
just
Outback tonight. We're going to Outback.
Yeah, it's just like we're talking about children, right? It's like, you got to sell your kids on going to bed or eating their freaking vegetables or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, if you have children, you know what it's like to sell, because you're either selling or being sold, right? My kids, there's some days, man, I'm just like, but especially my daughter, she can be so persistent to get what she wants. And sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to have to say yes, because it's easier to say yes than to keep arguing with this girl, right? So, ultimately, selling, it's really just you sharing something that is a solution for a problem, right? Like, this person has a problem, I have the solution, and I'm not trying to sell something that they don't necessarily need, something that is just for me to make a buck. If you're selling something just to make you money, then you maybe need to take a look at something else, because you first of all, you're going to have commission breath, and you're probably going to suck at selling it, because you're only doing it to make money and you don't actually believe it's going to help the person buying it. But truth be told, it's from an integrity standpoint, from a belief standpoint, it's going to be hard to promote something that doesn't benefit the end consumer. And if it benefits them, then why wouldn't I want them to have it? They should want what I'm selling, because it's going to help them, not necessarily help me, which it will, but it's more about helping them. And if you have a genuine interest in helping other people, making a difference, and you believe in what you're promoting, then it shouldn't be that difficult over time to consistently produce sales. And the people that you haven't sold to yet, you plant those seeds so you can sell it to them later.
One of the things that you said, and it's one of the things that I preach, and we've got a couple handfuls of guys and gals out there who will go out there and work hard, but there's like levels, right? I'm putting in work, I'm putting in more hours than most people do. I'm working every couple weekends. And then there's work your face off. Then there's like 24/7, when people are saying to you, I don't know how you do what you do, you're always on. You always pick up the phone. You're always on the road. You're always in front of a client. You're always making sales. You're always building the business, right? When you're on like that, when your messenger is so filled up that you can't keep up with it, when your phone is still dinging at 11 o'clock at night and you're still messaging people, this is the level of work your face off. It doesn't happen overnight, and I think a lot of times people see it. They see where you live, and they see what you drive, and they see the long vacations, and they see all this stuff, and they go, man, they're so lucky. And it's like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand what the first 7 years were like. You don't know what it's like to drive 3 hours to an appointment and no one's there. And then spend the next 5 hours just being out there trying to generate business, right? Just like just hustling your ass off. And then all of a sudden, 4 years later, 5 years later, things are different. Not that things are easier, but financially things are better. And they're better because of the hard work. And you know what's interesting is I see this too. And talk to me about this. I see individuals have a level of success and then take their foot off the gas, where they get a big commission and then take it's like, to me, that is the number one worst thing you could ever do, is make a bunch of money or have a lot of success and then take your foot off the gas. If anything, that's when you put it into fifth gear and you go as hard as you freaking can. Like dude, you know me, like we're wired similar. It's like when it starts getting good, that's when I hammer.
Yeah, well, you made a lot of great points. And I think, first of all, a big reason why someone like myself and someone like you, we are successful is because we're also obsessed, right? Like, we're obsessed with what we do. We're obsessed with our businesses. We're obsessed with helping people. Like, we love it. And there's people are like, how do you do what you do? I'm like, I'm obsessed. Like, that's the answer. And I was listening to this interview with Brian Tracy, and, Brian's in his 70s. He's had health issues, like all this crazy stuff, cancer, all this stuff. And he just wrote 5 books over the last year, like 5 books, like, right? Most people don't have 1 book. And he's traveling all over the world speaking and doing all this stuff. And he's in his 70s and he's multi-millionaire. He doesn't need to do it. Bob Proctor, same thing, right? Like, you think about some of these like legendary authors, speakers, mentors, gurus, right? And they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s. And people are like, when are you going to retire? And it's like, they're never going to retire. Why? Because this is what they do. This is their life's purpose. And when it's kind of like this. I said this the other day. Somebody might say, well, Bryce Harper just got this huge contract with the Phillies, which, congratulations, Brett. That must be nice. We're still dealing with Chris Davis.
Knocking him out of the park, bro.
Chris Davis is like 0 for like 50 for the season. That's our big contract with the Orioles. But anyway, that's a whole other.
Ball so hard it's gonna fly down 95 and land in the Orioles park.
And he's also on my fantasy team. He's my one keeper that I keep every year. Such a beast. Bryce Harper, not Chris Davis. But it's crazy because I don't think anybody would ever say to Bryce Harper, like, oh man, all you ever talk about is baseball. Like, all you ever do is baseball. Nobody would ever say that. Why? Because it's like, he's a pro athlete and he's this like, epic, successfully, all-star, legendary baseball player. And nobody would ever say that, but it's like, they'll say that to us. Where it's interesting because, you know what? In network marketing, in business, in entrepreneurship, in insurance, you can make the same kind of money that pro athletes make. Maybe not like Bryce Harper money, right? But you can make, like they were talking yesterday about this guy, Joey Gallo, who is probably going to do the home run derby because the winner of the home run derby gets $1 million. And they're like, that's more than Joey Galloway makes for the whole year. He makes
Yep.
600,000 a year as a professional baseball player. And this dude hits like 40 home runs a year. And I'm thinking, that's crazy. He only makes 600,000 a year, but that's most Major League Baseball players, which most people will never become NFL players, MLB players, NHL, NBA. They'll never, ever have a chance at making it to the professional level. And even when they do, they still have to work their face off. They still have to do so much. And the truth is, there's still no guarantee that they're going to make that kind of money, right? That Bryce Harper's making. But again, all of them are obsessed. All of them, that's all they think about. That's all they do. And even when these guys retire, because, you can't play a major league sport forever. You have to retire. I mean, what Gronk just retired at 30 years old?
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Like, he's retired from the NFL at 30. Right? Where with what we do, we could literally do this in our
Forever.
50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. We can do it forever, right? Until the day we right, our last breath. So that's kind of the power of being an entrepreneur and being in business. But with that being said, we're not employees where it's like, we work from 9 to 5 and at 5 o'clock we just shut it off. And I'm like you. I mean, I might respond to a message at 12:30 at night. I might respond to a message at 6:30 at night. Now, if someone tries to get on a call with me at that hour, that ain't happening. But there's that's kind of the flexibility. It's like last night, I decided to watch a movie with Nadia. I wasn't checking my phone for a couple hours, then I went to bed, right? But there's some nights where instead of watching a movie, I might be at my son's baseball game for a few hours, not really checking my phone, and then I get home from the baseball game, put the kids to bed, and I'm checking my phone from 9 to 12:30 because I'm in the mode, like I'm fired up. So you need to create that scenario for yourself, because some people watching this, they have a full-time job and they're building their business part-time. You need to take that part-time effort, and it's interesting. People will work so hard for their employer, and then they have their own business. And it's like you said, they get one big commission check and they're like taking their foot off the gas. And it's just interesting because, like somebody might say, well, I'm dealing with some personal problems right now. I'm dealing with some stuff at home. And it's like, oh, I got it. I understand. That's understandable. Health issues, whatever. But it's like, did you still go to work? Like, yeah, I still went to work. I had to go to work. Like, well, when your business becomes a must, like a have to, the way your job is, knowing that your job can never give you financial freedom the way this business can. Imagine if you just flipped it and you said, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do my best because I'm employed. I'm grateful. I have a job. A lot of people don't. But I also know that this is the short-term job, right? This is short-term money. The business I'm building on the side, that's for the long term. It's like Jim Rohn used to say, I'm working full-time on my job. I'm working part-time on the hustle, right? I'm working part-time on my business, and that business can create financial freedom, right? That business can give you the dreams that you've always wanted to go out there and pursue. So that to me is what it's all about. And you said it, man, those long vacations, right? The freedom and flexibility, the nice house, the nice car, putting kids in private school, right? So when you're out there building your dream on the part-time basis, you got to have structure just like you do in your job.
And I say this too, right? So if you treated your job the same way you treat your business, how long would you be employed?
Mm-hmm.
Not very long. I want to bring up
It's
the
true.
analogy because
They would get fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their side business could literally make them a fortune,
Yeah.
right? Could make them a fortune. Their job, $50,000 a year, which, you know what? Hey, look, if you're happy with that, you're watching this, you're happy with that, great. I don't know why you're watching, right? If that's all you want to make, we're talking about making multiple six, or even one day a 7-figure business. And it's going to be, of course, I'd rather work 80 hours a week for me than work 40 hours a week for someone else.
1,000. Yep. So you talked about baseball, and Bryce Harper, right, gets paid $300 million. His batting average is about 400, but the average batting average in baseball is a little over 200.
Yeah.
Which means these guys are striking out 7-8 times, right?
Yeah.
I just had this conversation with Grant. He's switching to this little league program that's a little bit more advanced of a little league program, and we were talking about striking out because he's hit the ball every time. He goes, but what happens when I strike out? And then I gave him the analogy of last night. I just did this last night before bed. We were watching the game. It's the same thing in the insurance business or any type of direct sales business. What happens when you have a really bad week, or you have a really bad, I'm not a bad day. Everybody's gonna have bad days. when you have that really bad week where you had just a lot of stuff on the schedule, but nothing came to fruition, or you just had a horrible month, or maybe you've had two back-to-back bad months. What is your advice when you're an independent and you're 1099 and you're putting together a string of a bad week or bad weeks or bad months? How do you mentally stay in the game, and how can you overcome that long term?
Well, first of all, that's all very normal, right? Like that's the other thing. People act like it's such a strange occurrence to fail or have a bad week, a bad month. And it's like you said, it took you 7 years to finally break through. It took me 7 years to finally fire my boss and become a full-time network marketer, a full-time entrepreneur. And now we've been full-time for 11 years. And it's funny, at the time when you're going through it, it's not that easy to say, well, instead of being in earn mode, I'm in learn mode, right? It's hard to look at it that way while you're going through the adversity and then you're riding the struggle bus, right? I always say you got to embrace the suck, because it's going to suck in the beginning. But once you get to that destination, right, you finally get to that full-time income, that goal that you had, whatever it is, you finally hit that goal. You get there and you're like, I understand why it took so long.
Right.
Right. I understand. You realize that it was worth it, number one, and number two, you understand that like it was meant to suck. First of all, would you ever go see a movie if there was no drama, if there was no adversity, right? There was no bad guy, right? There was no like what who would want to go see a movie where there's no challenge? Like what's the drama is in the details, right? Like what's the details? Like what are the challenges you're dealing with? And it's like overcoming those challenges and embracing the suck. Like I said, it makes you a better leader later when you can say, oh, I've dealt with this before, or here's how I handled that situation in the past. And it's just funny because we look at these experts, these gurus, and we hear their advice on things, and it's mostly because they learn from their mistakes. So to think that you're not going to have problems and you're going to have a problemless business and a problemless life and everything's supposed to be perfect, you're just fooling yourself. Like, I don't want things to suck. I don't want bad things to happen, but I've trained myself, or I've tried to train myself. Like sometimes there's still going to be times where you're like, dude, that really sucks, right? Like I had a company get shut down by the FTC a few years ago. Like that sucked, right? I've had some really bad things happen to me over the years, but I've learned from it. And it's made me stronger. It's given me more courage. And I think it also helps because when you do deal with that adversity, you're almost like it just doesn't bother you. It doesn't phase you as much as it would have in the early years when you were less experienced, right? Now when stuff happens, I'm like, okay, well, that sucks, but here's what we did, last time this happened, and this is how we fixed it, or these are the mistakes I made last time. So if I'm mentoring someone, coaching someone, I'm saying, listen, these are the things you don't want to do, right? Like for instance, when somebody, let's say in sales, right? Somebody on your one of your clients cancels, right? And they go with a different carrier, they go with a different agency, and your knee-jerk reaction is like, call them up and like cuss them out, right? Like right? And the truth is that's the worst thing you could do, especially in today's day and age. Someone goes online and writes a bad review about you, like that sucks. Yeah. But what you could do, a professional, what it means to really go pro and go out there and become a professional in business is you call up that client and say, hey, I saw you canceled, I saw you went in a different direction. Totally cool, but I just wanted to see if I could just give you some information, just educate you real quick, because I'm familiar with the company you switched to, and I don't want to knock them, but I just want you to know what you signed up for and understand why ours might have been a little more expensive, but what you're getting is so much more valuable if you let me share with you. If not, that's totally fine. I wish you well. If things don't work out, you know where to find me. Whatever, stay in touch. So, there's a more professional way to handle that situation.
That was a really good scenario for insurance. You might be learning something here over the years about insurance.
There you go. There you go.
Really cool.
And it's not insurance, right? It could be anything you sell, right? Like that's the funny thing, right? Like in mortgages, dude, I will never forget the time this guy didn't tell me he was shopping around, and I worked on the deal for like 5 months. Get to the closing table, and he had 2 other closings for the same property on the same day. And basically, he just went with the best one. And I was so freaking furious. I think I broke my phone that day, right? Like my office phone. And I was so mad. But it's funny because anytime stuff like that might be happening, I kind of knew how to identify it. Like, oh, I saw you had your credit pulled with two other mortgage companies recently. And honestly, it's like I just didn't like the whole, somebody shopping around for the best deal, because honestly, you end up in a situation where even if you provide the best value, you end up with someone that is so particular and they're just nickel and diming you that even if you're the one that gets the deal, it's probably not going to be worth it to work that hard on this deal. Just move on and go find other deals that make more sense, right? So I learned from it, but it's just there's so many situations that we're going to deal with when building a team, leading people, managing our own emotions, that over time you just get better at all the things you need to get better at, but you learn more from the struggle. You learn more from the adversity and the failure than you do from successfully building businesses and successfully creating profits in your company. So and it's same thing. You said it with baseball, with sports. It's the same thing. Like, Dylan's on a really good travel team right now, and sometimes it's a bad thing.
Really good. He is really,
Well,
really good.
well, it's crazy. The whole team is like that too. Like they're all
Yeah, I remember you
studs.
were telling me. Yeah.
Yeah, like they've been in 3 tournaments already this season, and they've been to the championship 3 times. It's kind of crazy because they won the championship in the first one, they won the championship in the second one, and beat the team that everybody says is the best team in Maryland. They beat them, so I guess we're the best team in Maryland. And then we played this team from Richmond, Virginia, in the championship this past Sunday, and that team had beat us, gave us our first loss of the season earlier in the day. So we had to go, Brett. We had to go to the championship and beat them twice. You beat them once, you got to play them again, right? So we played them at 7:15.
Hard to beat them again the second time.
Yeah, if we win, we got to play them again at 9:15. And I'm like, dude, it's a Sunday. We've been here since 7 a.m. So we end up stomping them into the ground. We crushed them 10-4. But the coach is like, okay, that was like the most amazing game ever. Like literally, it was one of my I mean, it wasn't even though it was 10-4. It never even seemed like they were within 10 runs. I mean, we just completely dominated. And at the end, he goes, okay, so we're not going to play this second game. We're just going to go ahead and let them have the championship, because at this point, number one, all of our kids had pitched. The ones that pitched can't pitch anymore, and the ones that could pitch are all sore or injured. So it's like we're not going to chance going into this second game, number one, with nobody basically available to pitch except for some injured kids, and all they could end up doing is hurting themselves more, and we're probably going to get crushed because we don't really have any pitching. So it's just like, let them have it, but they know. Yeah, they got the championship, but they know. I mean, we just whooped them 10-4. So that was really cool. But it's funny because it's as bad as it was for them to lose that first game of the season earlier in the day. They came back. Oh, dude, they were coming back like, all right, y'all, like fresh start, 0-0, let's go. And they brought in a guy. This is a 14-year-old Brett, and he is friggin' huge, 6-something, 200 pounds, and he's throwing 80 miles an hour. So we end up knocking him out of the game in like the second or third inning. Then they bring in a kid that's throwing 82 miles an hour. And they knock him out of the game. At 14, dude. Yeah, 14, throwing 80-plus miles. So both of those kids were gone, and then they didn't really have – I mean, the next kid was okay, but it was like nothing compared to these flamethrowers. But so that was a lot of fun. But it's good to lose sometimes. Sometimes you learn more from the failure.
I think you and Dylan should maybe at some point in time, maybe guys do a video and kind of you interview him just about his experiences and playing at that high level of baseball.
Yeah.
But here's
I'll have to bribe him because he's too cool. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Dad, I'm good. I'm good, Dad.
Yeah, exactly.
One last question, and these are I've learned from you guys obviously over the years, just different things. Can you give these guys maybe 2 or 3 points, simple points that they can use to brand themselves, like switch up your profile pic, like that simple stuff. What are 2 or 3 things that you can give these guys that will make a difference in their appearance along with the other things that we talked about earlier?
Well, one thing they could definitely do is, just check out my profile, your profile, just to get ideas on how we've, our bio, how we brand ourselves, content that we put out there. It's funny how it's not like it's a mystery what people are doing. It's literally on their profile publicly what they're doing, how they're doing it, how often they post, the things they post about. And it doesn't mean you copy people, but you get inspiration, you get ideas from what other people are doing. And then again, you put your own twist on it. But I think the number one thing is you have to think, if somebody were to land on my profile, what would I want them to know about me? What would I want a stranger or someone that I went to high school with that I haven't talked to in 10 years, right? 20 years, whatever. I'm having my 20-year high school reunion next month, actually. So, it's interesting how we sometimes overthink the whole branding thing. And the truth is you have a brand, whether you're branding yourself or not, right? If someone goes to your page, what are they going to see? That's your brand. If someone looks you up on Instagram or LinkedIn, or they Google you, what are they going to find? Right? Go Google yourself right now when this is over. Those of you watching, go Google yourself, because that's your brand. Whether you're branding yourself or not, we all have a brand. It's either our brand is a brand of like us, having nothing on any platform, right? Like someone Googles you and nothing pulls up, right? That could be your brand. Your brand is nothing. Or your brand is, you kind of seem like a little bit of an infomercial. You seem like a spammer. All you talk about is your thing that you're selling, and people don't go onto social media to buy. You're not Amazon, right? You're not. People are not coming onto social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. They're not going on there to buy things or buy insurance or get involved in a business opportunity. That's not why they're on there. But if they land on your page and they're like, wow, this person, they seem positive, they seem happy, they keep it real, right? Like one thing about me, and I think the reason I've done well with my brand, is the way I'm talking right now. This is how I talk. If I meet you in person, this is just how I freaking talk. Like, so if you're trying to show up as a fraud or as a fake, people can smell that BS a mile away, and that's never going to be an effective brand trying to be someone else.
Not for the long term, no.
And this is why telling stories and being vulnerable, like people are like, I don't have anything of value to share. Like, you have a story. And even if you don't think you have a story, you do have a story. And there's going to be plot twists in your story. There's going to be lessons learned in your story. And it doesn't mean you're going to go onto Facebook and just do an hour-long video like this telling your story. If you notice, I've incorporated my story into this conversation, but a lot of it is value and tips and insights from years of doing this. And then you get people like, well, I don't have the years of experience. And it's like, yeah, but we all start somewhere. At one point, I'd never heard of network marketing. I couldn't even spell entrepreneur. I didn't know anything about selling or sales, but I knew I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. And I think that's a big thing to take away from this, is if what you're doing isn't working and you're not happy, you're not where you want to be, then it's time to do something different. It's time to step it up and mess it up. You're going to suck in the beginning, but you know what? Your first video is going to suck, but that's the only way you get to the 50th video. Your first sale probably won't go so well. Your first appointment, your first phone call, all that stuff in the beginning is probably going to suck. It's very unusual that someone is a natural at any of these things. And if they are a natural, it only appears that they're a natural because they probably had years of experience doing something similar prior to getting into the insurance industry or getting into sales or getting into entrepreneurship. So that's really just, the challenging part is people don't want to start small, right? I heard Brendan Bouchard say, it's not that you're I can't remember exactly what he said. It's not that you're not capable of doing this, that, and the other thing. It's that you're too embarrassed to start small. Right. And that's the hard part, is starting out. You might not have any viewers on your first live video, right? Nobody's watching your stories. Nobody's responding to your content. So what? It probably sucks in the beginning anyway. So it's probably good that not a whole lot of people are paying attention, right? You don't want to suck later on when you got this massive following, right? And by the way, you're never going to build a massive following unless you're doing all the things we're talking about, showing up consistently and providing value, something that people actually care about. So that's it.
Yeah. Personally, I've liked to show some vulnerability, be authentic, and try to have fun, make light of situations. try to stay away from the politics and try to stay away from anything religious. And if there is something that's a serious issue that's going on, I just try to make light of it in a funny way. There's always going to be that one individual or two individuals who want to try to press your buttons or get all technical and get involved. I don't think it's the right platform for that. I'd rather just do that in person. So.
Yeah. I mean, I like a little controversy, but I do agree. I think whenever it gets into politics, religion, stuff like that, and there's some people they love going in that direction. They love being super, Republican, super religious, super Democrat. Like, and that's fine, man. For me, I just don't want to deal with the negativity. I don't want to argue with people about that kind of stuff. I don't want to, to me, that's personal preference. There's a lot of opinions out there, and who am I to be, the judge and jury? Like, to me, it's like, I want to keep, like you said, keep things light, keep things positive, inspirational, vulnerable, like, all those things. And I want to make a difference. I want this person to come to my page and be like, damn, that was some good stuff, man. Like that video was awesome, or that post really hit home for me, or I needed to hear that today. They don't need to hear a whole bunch of like, debates on all those hot button issues. Like, I don't want to have like a big debate on my wall about abortion. Like, that's not my brand. That's not me. If that's your brand, that's what you want to do, that's fine. But, attraction marketing, when you start attracting people, you are going to repel certain types of people. And I think that's fine. But I do think there's you got to kind of draw a line, because if you go in too much of a negative direction, yeah, you're probably going to attract like-minded people, but there's going to be a lot of clients and partners out there that partnerships that you're going to ruin, because they don't want to be associated with that nonsense. They don't want to be associated with that type of negativity. But hey, everybody's got their thing, man. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. For me, I'm on the same page with you. I don't want that type of adversity.
I think the message definitely hit home. I know that our agents are really going to appreciate this interview that we did here today. This was number 7, and I thank you for taking the time. It's always good to hang out with you. I talk to you all the time anyhow, but it's pretty cool to get together here like this. So I
Definitely.
appreciate it, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah, you got it, brother.
Have a great
Appreciate
day.
you guys watching. Later, everyone.
See ya.